नमस्कार। सबको नमस्कार। मैं नेपाल से एडवोकेट करुणा पराजुली। एक्चुअली एआईएसएफ के हमारे दोस्त सुशील जी ने बोला था कि मैं हिंदी और इंग्लिश में बोलूँ आज। मेरा हिंदी तो उतना अच्छा नहीं है, पर मैं कोशिश करूँगी कि जब मैं अपने बात बोलूँ तो मैं हिंदी और इंग्लिश मिक्स करके बोलूँगी। सर्वप्रथम जो लोग मुझे यहाँ देख रहे हैं, जो साथी साथी मुझे सुन रहे हैं, सबको मैं नेपाल से क्रांतिकारी लाल सलाम बोलती हूँ। और मैं आज जो मेरे टॉपिक है वर्किंग क्लास वुमेन ड्यूरिंग द पैंडेमिक, so I will be more focused on this issue. Before I enter into this issue, two scenario comes into my mind when I have seen or witnessed the pandemic right now. The first is, I think you have also seen the video or the picture of a dead body of migrant woman who was traveling through Muzaffarpur, and her dead body uske beta was trying to wake her up, but she was dying there uh, in being hungry, without food and without heat, with extreme temperature. That's the first scenario that comes to our mind. And second is the community kitchen that was ran by in different parts of Kerala, and also in Nepal in different parts, especially in the capital, to support the migrant workers. So when we think about these two scenario of women dying of hunger in one side, and there are people supporting each other during the pandemic, then we see two different faces of the contemporary world that we're living right now. One is the worst form of capitalism, which is being worst in the pandemic. And the second one is, within this capitalist system, there are people coming together, they're supporting each other, and they have still that communal feeling to, or the spirit of social life, which actually keeps us moving. So if we see now, we are in the semi lockdown stage, and there's no doubt this lockdown and the experience that we are facing is totally framed by class issue. See, we can see like there are people, rich people, who have shifted from cities and they have moved to their farmhouse or safer place on one side, and on the other side there are bus drivers, essential workers, even frontline health workers, including nurses. They are dying in their job because they don't have proper ppe. There is a problem with getting proper medical access, and even the disease itself is killing people every day. So we can think of these two differences that people are living, and we can easily imagine our quarantine life, which the state has said, okay, this is lockdown, and people living in big bungalows and with big garden on one hand, and on the other hand there are people who are living in the slum area. They don't have even drinking water, and यहाँ सरकार बोल रहा है कि आप हाथ धो लो, कोरोना से बचोगे। तो जहाँ पीने के लिए पानी नहीं है, वहाँ कैसे, how people will get soap and water to wash their hands? So these are the two different scenarios that we have seen. So what I would like to say is, this lockdown or the pandemic that we are facing is completely a class issue. So now if I move on to the actual topic, there we are talking, we will be talking about working class women. So question could come to mind like, why not women only? Then when I say working woman, I mean proletariat class women, including those farmers and all those women who are selling their labor power, physical or in the mental form. Yes, this world is divided. There are women from higher class and there are also working class women, and these two, they have their own world. As we say that there are class hierarchy, even men, even there is a divided role. We hear that claim that सब महिला एक है. नहीं, सब महिला एक नहीं है. जो धनी परिवार or who are born in rich family and those are struggling for their hand to mouth, they are totally different. Their class claim or their interests are totally different. although they claim that there is, they say that liberation of women, महिला मुक्ति के लिए दोनों ही बात करती है, पर महिला मुक्ति कैसे? जो बुर्जुआ वुमन है, जो वो इक्वलिटी बेस्ड, वो लॉ में राइट्स इक्वल मांग करती है, मेन से राइट मांग करती है, पर वर्किंग क्लास वुमन अपनी क्लास के मुक्ति के लिए, अपने खुद के मुक्ति के लिए और अपने क्लास की मुक्ति के लिए वो लड़ती रहती है। इसलिए ये दो, they totally different class. So that's why I myself being a student leader, I had a experience of being in the left party student movement, and also being engaged in the left party politics. I say that we should be concerned about working class women, so we should segregate this issue. It's so simple to understand. सो इंडिया में भी आप देख सकते हैं कि स्मृति ईरानी जब मिनिस्टर वो है, बहुत शक्तिशाली लोग कहते हैं, वो उनकी पार्टी के वो क्लेम करते हैं, तो उन्होंने उनका जो जो स्टेप लिया है, जो whatever she says in public media, this is completely anti-woman. And some of the example are of Sabarimala. I think you have heard about it, especially in India, where she was claiming that menstruation is impure, you should not be entering, women should not be entering to the temple, and she was putting forward this kind of issues, which shows that she's against equalizing the rights of women or liberating them. And even she put forward some controversial issue about promoting toilet as izzatgar, or the honor of women. So the question arises that being merely women, can she actually be the medium of women liberation, be the women who can actually work for the justice of those women who are dying of hunger, like the example of Muzaffarpur? And the answer is obviously no. We can see that from various examples around the world. We see in Bangladesh, in all the different countries, where country leaders or country headed women for several years, but the situation of women is worse and worse, and it's all because of the system they are under, which they are living. And we see in this pandemic, the two, as I said earlier, that one hand there are women who have servant in their home, they're getting help, they're working from home, and their life is easy. It's a kind of luxury for those women, rich women. But for this working class women who are a domestic helper, their life is in really in difficult, because in some places then asked not to come to work to help their house owners. And in some place we see nurses who have to toil for their life and take a risk doing that. So we have to see these two experience in different way. That's why I chose, we should be, as a left activist, we should be talking about not women but working class women. And one thing, what we should be careful when we're saying about women, or when we are talking about working class women issue, as a Marxist, we take the historical materialistic approach. And this is what often the debate comes, whether a woman's question is special question, like, they should be treated as different one or a special one, or it's a general other issues. What, as from historical materialistic prospect, we should be clear about is, it's not a special issue. They should not be segregated or treated specially. Women's, working class women's issue are the social issue. Whatever they face, that should be socially dealt, be that issue of domestic violence, be that about wages rights, or be that any form of discrimination women face, that should be the social issue, not private issue. I hear about, or we often hear, there are claims that abortion rights, or claim of my body, my right, and even surrogacy, saying that, oh, it's my body, I should be allowed to do whatever I want. No, this is completely a liberal agenda, because our body, imagine, I mean, I want everyone to imagine that the social life that we're born through, like that from the day a woman gets pregnant, there are family members taking care, just trying to make sure that she eats well, and everything is socially set. And when the baby is born out, everyone, family members, friends, they come out with gifts and they try to make sure that the baby's life is taken care well, and then try to protect the baby and then support. So we can see that every part of our life is socially formed. So our body is social, and society or social, so it's a social concern that a woman should not be raped. It's not a single woman's responsibility not to be raped, rather it's a social issue. And it's everything that we discuss. I said earlier that abortion rights, surrogacy thing, sex work issue, everything is social issue. So there cannot be claimed that it's my right, my choice, because it's a liberal agenda enforcing the private rights and segregating, and that division of private public, which has further imposed or kept women under the boundaries. So we need to be discussing about it, because when we hear we find that, oh, these are like, very very charming kind of fancy kind of naras. But we should be, at least the left should be aware about this kind of liberal agenda that tries to segregate women, saying and pushing it to the individual sector, not bringing it as a social issue. So when we frame the working class women's issue with the pandemic, we have human, throughout the human development, we have even from the, there are the history that through the hunter gatherers time, uh, people have suffered from different pandemic of malaria, tuberculosis, and influenza, and even smallpox. And recently we often talk, when we see about COVID of 2020, it is often related to 1980s Spanish flu. Many things, I mean, there were a sad story about 1980s, where there was war, there was the First World War, it was almost coming to the end. The men were on the field, they were fighting, and at the same time, there was also this pandemic, Spanish flu, and killing many women. Sorry, many men. So what happened is, on the brighter side, I would say it has a brighter side. As men were ill, they were in the field fighting, and they were not able to cover up the economic sector. Many women have to come outside. So I see, yes, there was sad part of this Spanish flu, but one important aspect that we have to see is it helped women to come out of their house. They were no more bound in their household work. Rather, they came out as a workforce. They were occupying or taking the jobs that were considered previously only men's only job. So that was also one of the, in that sense, we can say that was remarkable, in a sense that they were becoming economically independent. So we have to, we see that the historical development in that way, where pandemic was in a way supportive, because there was economically women got engaged to it. And now I would more be focusing on COVID 2020, how the life of women, working class women, have been, in a way, there is impact, and what could be the way out, or how we could collectively work against it, and at least make life easier. So when we say, or when we talk about the COVID related impact on life of women, what we should also, or what I believe is, the condition, today's conditions and forms of production have actually subjugated women through human history. And in current situation, where we are under this big umbrella of capitalist system, the system is reinforcing this kind of exploitation upon women. And what we can see is this is further being aggravated in COVID crisis. As I mentioned earlier, that the uh, homemaid who are working as who are serving in as domestic workers or nurses, because nurses, there, basically in South Asia we see women are the larger part of women are working as nurses. their life is really in difficult because they have to take a choice between whether to die being hungry or to take the job and take the risks of the disease. So, as left activists, and even at least in Nepal, country where we say that two-third majority of is of left government, we should be conscious that these issues are well addressed, and working class women's life is being is ge- I mean they get easier with it. First, I will be discussing about what is the situation. I know many of you have even heard from the news, and many have even seen in their own countries, especially जो दोस्त हैं इंडिया में, जैसे कोरोना के केसेस राइज हो रहा है बिहार में भी। आप लोग जो जैसे देख रहे हैं कि प्रेशर है पब्लिक हॉस्पिटल में, प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल को ले नहीं रहे हैं, और there is only excess, and there are lakhs of rupees that a person have to spend on private hospitals, and the situation is being worse day by day, and it really needs some attention. And we have seen that there is a profit coming over the people, whereas if we talk about in the human friendly or even from our left angle, we there should be people before profit, but we see there is being profit is kept between before people. One example, I mean, the first people that fight with health or with the corona patients are frontline health officers. And these frontline health workers include even hospital support staff who are cleaning, who are doing their, or many times they are considered as blue collar workers. When I actually have a discussion with some of my friends who are working in private hospitals, especially those doctors and nurses who usually wear white coat. So they say that, oh, we wear white coat, and we shouldn't be framed as blue collar workers. But what we should be clear is, under this capitalist system, the capital holds the one who holds the capital, that person makes them work. So they are laborer, yes, by degree they are doctor or nurse, but they're mere they're selling their labor. So they have to understand that anytime those capitalists can just fire them, and I mean there is the worst form they can do, and the exploitation they are being faced, because we can see they are not getting leave. Their shift was, which was the only double shift, has tripled or have been even fourth time. They not give provided with proper proper personal equipments that they need to protect themselves. And even we have heard stories from different countries, even the developed countries, which they say that we are very good at human rights, and claim we see what is the situation in US, what is the situation in UK, how nurses are being forced to make choices like whether to sit home being hungry, or let their children just starve, or go to work and take that risk and stay away from their family and live in tents. I mean, it's easier for some people to stay home, be paid, work from home, but actually their life is very difficult. And we can see even in Nepal also, the government, the government, one of the the minister which was in charge of handling this pandemic, have been widely criticized. And I think there would be some kind of inquiry of buying low quality of PPE, and there was some kind of corruption. I mean, it's yet to be proved, but there are issues coming forth. There are questions being posed that why government are doing that, because why the life of the people, or why those fighting with corona, especially in hospitals, their life have not been kept as the priority, why there is always profit before the people. So I think we need to discuss about this issue too. And concern is, when we see WHO data, there are 50 more than 59% of health care workforce that is populated by women. So I think these are the women who would be who come in contact with the patient, care them. I think if they don't get proper proper equipments, I think they are the first person to get that disease, and they are the first person who would be dying. So this thing should be widely discussed, and this should be the concern of whichever government is working to fight under the pandemic. And the situation is not only of the, I mean, yes, it's of the health worker, frontline health workers and nurses, but there are also other sectors where there are working class women. They are being, they have this have poorly affected them. One other sector is journalist. We hear that, I think it's not only of the women but working class journalists. I can say from Nepal, like there are even big media houses, they're just firing them. They're not being paid. There are not even any kind of packages given to them. They're just in limbo. And we have also, there are friends, even our comrades who are actually, they really write well, very progressive people, but they have not been paid for 3 months. I mean, when a family depends upon a single person, there are dependents, and you can imagine like not being paid for 3 months. So this is another area, or these are the working class, both even men and women, they are facing this problems. They have lost their jobs, and they're totally in like, uh, they're waiting like what government would see, and each time they are disappointed, because whenever there is a kind of speech from prime minister, more issues are more towards giving updates on health, but no packages have been so far decided or pronounced by the government. So this is really disappointing, because we say journalists, they are like the watchdog of the government, and they are the ones who keep on खबरदारी करते रहते हैं. तो उन लोगों को जो मोटिवेशन चाहिए था इस वक्त इस क्राइसिस के टाइम, और लेफ्ट गवर्नमेंट जो है, what they expect is more. I mean, I totally understand in India how our left friends have been fighting against very fundamentalist government, and the um, many media are being funded by the party itself, BJP, and other capitalist group. I understand that there are since they are being paid by this capitalist, I think issue could be less severe. But here there are expectation, because this is a left government, communist government, but still there is disappointment. It's in a way saying that it's trying to do that, it's making an approach, but still the situation, people are very disappointed, because it was the two-third government that people gave, and stability was ensured. So we have been facing this situation. And apart from journalists, also in many private companies, people are being fired from their job. I hear, or we often hear from our friends who are engineers. You know, engineers are considered to be very smarter people, especially in maths, what they do. And again the question arises that I think they have to raise their class consciousness, that okay, even being engineer, if you're employed in a big tech companies, there are situations where your boss or the company just fires you out without any reason. They just putting they mean layoff or not giving salaries, or just saying that oh, there is no income in the in the company, although they already have accumulation of profit, like they're not giving even minimum kind of salaries. So this is also a situation that we have seen recently. And one another problem that I think is the major problem, I mean worldwide, is the unemployment. I mean the increased rate of jobs lost by people. If you see the data from Center for Monitoring in India, in Indian economy, so the unemployment rate in early May was 27.1%. It is like 122 million in India, like 122 million people lost their jobs. And this includes not only informal sector, both informal and formal sector. So we can imagine the life of these people, the people who are dependent on it. So we need to see it from the perspective that how they have been surviving, how this class of people have been surviving, and how they could get back their jobs, or how they could survive their life. It's not that countries have not taken in a way measures to support their workers, especially essential workers. If we see the policies made by Norway, we see that they have even made some kind of generous paid leave when there was shut down, and even Denmark and recently UK has also put some kind of relief packages. But if we see the situation of as claimed in India, saying that, oh, it's a big democracy, it's still no proper relief have been given. There are reports, and there are also information that there is storage of huge amount of ration and food that could actually satisfy the people who are starving there, but the government is not even properly trying to disseminate that or support. We hear even in India that Kerala government have been really wonderful in fighting corona, but still it really had a problem with the federal government or the central government in getting proper financial access. So these are the things that we actually need to discuss when we are saying about a COVID issue, because I mean the disease or the vaccination can be increased, but we can see the impact it will have on the life of the people, those who lost their job, those who are struggling to live their life, and they are totally disappointed by their government. And one another issue that we see within the working class women is daily wage earners and informal sector. I think this is where we really need to actually not only discuss but shout out for these people, because if we see the domestic helper, then we see two-thirds of these workers. If we see ILO reports, then basically the domestic workers, two-thirds of their population is of women. And if we see, I was looking at news, and in some parts of Mumbai they have organized, and even in different parts of India they have organized, but large part of these domestic helpers have not been organized. Apart from them, this informal sector, like we're running a small, they have their, like a vendor, they are doing it, or they're selling some small things, small vegetables, staying in the side of the street. Even these people have been badly impacted, because people were not allowed to go out of their house. And interesting thing in Nepal was some big I would not try to take the name and just try to pop up and make them popular, but big departmental stores, they were allowed to open. There basically the food items and vegetable items section was open even in the strict lockdown. We need to know that. But other small scale, like micro kind of enterprise, or who are just starting their own single shops, they were frequently, there were police going out. They were the local representative trying to go and sort them. So we can see, who's running this state. Why is the state, why the lockdown is imposed upon those small scale entrepreneurs, or this who have single shops were asked to shut down in lockdown, and big these departmental stores run throughout and they are making profit. We need to totally see this issue, and we need to discuss about it, like how the corporates are trying to run the government, or government work in favor of this kind of big departmental stores, but not for I mean individual people, or who are making an effort to live their life with their small, we say here the kirana stores, where, or small vegetable sellers. They were chased. I mean, when I was going out to buy vegetable, there was a woman, and she was just asking me to hurry up, and I was asking, like, why are you asking to hurry up? It's an essential thing, because I need to eat vegetable, I need to get fruits. And she was saying that, no, I mean, there would be police coming and chasing, so I don't want to be in that mess. So And when you see those departmental stores, they are just freely open throughout the lockdown, and there is a difference that the state itself is making, and we need to actually discuss about it. And we there is a side that where state has been very discriminatory. And this kind of situation is not the problem only in countries like ours or in India. We see how US is every day. I mean, I don't know why they make this big news, but like a record, it broke record of coronavirus. Like it's something very good. I mean, it's not a good news though, but we have heard that the news that 2.2 million of domestic workers, and most of them highly populated by women, they're engaged on it. And with the shutdown, 70% of these have lost their job. So 70% of them, their life, and these are the people usually from working class. I mean, these are the working class people. I mean, rich wouldn't go being a domestic worker. So these are the people. I mean, I think these include our Nepali friends, or someone who have migrated in search of very beautiful life. These are people, there might be people, poor people from Africa, or could be people, middle class people, like who dreamt of very big life and living in a very sophisticated life. And I mean, with the globalization, they went to US, and now the pandemic situation where they cannot go work, they are in a way given weekly some kind of benefits in a way, but I don't think that is sufficient to feed the family. We see in the social media that how people, there were videos being posted by Nepalese a colleague, like they just want to come back home because they really feel hopeless there. So we now can see like how big countries claiming themselves to be democratic, they are totally crushed by their capitalist system. And how their public, how they're limiting their public expenditure on health sector, and people are dying, the number is escalating each day, and their life is being very difficult. So when when we talk about these people who are working in US and other countries, one key issue that comes forward, even government of Nepal is currently dealing, is with the migrant workers. So when in 1990s, Nepal also accepted neoliberal policies. One of the drawback that we would say is many state hold very nice industries, they were privatized. So many people were working in these industries, they had to lose their job, and they have to look for other opportunities. And there are data we say that these people were the ones who had to look for opportunities, and with the neoliberal policies, it's rooted them out from Nepal, and they had to go to countries like or different Arabic state and in Malaysia. And we know what is the situation there. There are the reported cases of them being tortured, or they're facing the worst form of discrimination, be that in the form of physical violence or mental violence, and then many are not even paid salaries. So when men started going out, even women also sought out this or looked for opportunities, and thought that it would be in a way supportive to their family. And many women who were in Nepal, many women, they also went to these countries as domestic laborers. And now, as the COVID started spreading out, different from different countries, the mistress or the maid, or the people that they were serving, or the maid that they were serving, they just fired them from their job. And we see the cases like government has already rescued 30,000 people, and still Nepal government is working to bring back these people and get them back or reunited them with the family. In many cases related to women, they have been facing harassment, and many are also pregnant, and they have other mental issues. Now we need to see that how these women should be, the government has to see this, how it would manage these people, how they would support, how government would support for their livelihood. And when we are trying to address their problem, if we see this problem as patriarchy or a men or single men doing it, then we will not be able to solve this problem. We have to see this as this capitalist system, this neoliberal policy that forced them to go out of the country, work in the foreign land, and them being exploited, because as a poor country, no proper bargaining with these countries, and there are thousands of people going out every day. So we need to look back, or we need to review these policies that are discriminating, that are harassing these women. So one thing I would like to reappeal and say that we should stop this narrative saying that, oh, these women are discriminated of patriarchy. No, it's not a single man doing it. It's not a other woman with patriarchal value doing it. It's the system that we are in, the capitalist system, that does not take human. It takes human as a commodity, and everything is done for profit. As a lawyer, I see even there are problem within, we see that there are also reported cases that the divorce rate is currently going higher, and even it could be higher once the lockdown eases. Yes, it could, I mean, the cases are on rise, but how do we see this issue? Who gets access to getting those divorce? Can poor women afford to do that? Can she do that? Or when even the causes of, we need to sue the root causes of causes of this divorce. In maximum cases, I mean, as my experience, I think it would be a life research also, that there are many economic grounds, and I think we would need a separate time to discuss about this issue, because how this divorce or woman related problem are also framed by class issue, and it's a different experience for middle class women, upper class women, and all, and it's a different experience for a working class or woman in the lower class. We really need to discuss about it. Similar is the issue of domestic violence. It's a structural problem that women are facing. It's, we see it as a man. Why? I mean, the problem that we're trying to do is we're trying to address or correct a single man, or blame a single man against it, or as a woman if a man is victimized. I don't want to just be gender, or I just don't want to be a sexist saying that okay, only women are being the victim of domestic violence. There are also, yes, there are also cases where men are also being the victim of domestic violence. But we need to see how structure, how economic relationship are there, how they are framing it. If we could see it, then we can work on to fix it. But when we start blaming each other, or not supporting each other, or rather taking as enemy, because I see in some of the young girls there is actually problem, because yes, we are in power, we need to speak against all form of discrimination, and we need to fight against the domestic violence. I'm not saying it, but when we are doing that, as a state also has to take a policy, because there are criminal laws to prevent it. But why it's not being controlled? Why it's not stopping rape or any other forms of violence? We really need to have, I think, this is not, I mean, I'm focusing on the COVID related issue with working class women, but I think we need a serious discussion, because we always we have this blame game, um, to say that, oh, this is a men issue or this is a patriarchy, but we have not been able to reach into the deeper issue. Because yes, patriarchal values, they are there, they are for the strengthen, or the capitalist system is using it sometime in favor to support, and sometime against it. So we need to have a very close kind of very deeper um, discussion on this issue. So moving on to, I mean, when I have discussed all this issue, one thing that could come into your mind is like, okay, why are you only talking about problems? Because I mean, everyone talks about problem, you know, like there are even newspapers and news channels, and if you see Indian news channels, I think, if I mean, good thing is, like, I don't know, government has now blocked it, but I mean, it's terrible. I think you have also experienced it. I mean, they bring forward the issue, like the problem, वो जो समस्याएं हैं वो तो आगे है, पर अब क्या करना है? I mean, what could be the solution? I know it's not like a magic, you know, you say, okay, I mean, it takes a long time, but as left in the left discourse, we need to first understand that there are different experience. There is class within the woman. I hear some of my feminist friends, they say that, oh, there is intersectionality, there are disabled, there are LGBTI rights issue, and there are many other rural urban issue. But I mean, why don't we see this, that even a disabled who is born in a rich family and a disabled born in a poor family, totally different, like their access and everything goes different. I have a friend who is engineer. Unfortunately, she had some accident and she belongs from a rich family, but what her family could at least support was that they have a house where they have a lift, and I mean, their house is made in a very accessible manner. I mean, it. She was lucky to be in a privileged. I mean, she was in a privileged family, rich family that could support her. But what about a poor, disabled person who lives in a hut? And even if we see in Nepalese southern belt, we in the monsoon season there are rainy season. I mean, they have to be worried about it. In the hilly areas, the uneven land topography, the situation is different. And even for LGBTI women or LGBTI who identify themselves as LGBTI, I just have one example, that if you want to be transgender or transform, then there are those who are flying, spending huge lot of money going to Thailand or other developed countries to get transformed. But there are LGBTI, poor LGBTI who are struggling here, and there are cases like, you know, there are people who come to us and they report that they are using the very cheap kind of family planning pills, because it has some kind of hormones, and they're using it, and many even don't have access to it. So we shouldn't be this kind of, you know, blind towards looking into issue. It's a class issue, it's completely a class issue, and it's an issue of who has a resource and who does not have a resource. So स्रोत के पहुंच है उसका, we have to discuss about it. And moving on to the way forward, I think one key issue uh, that we have seen by world example, how countries have far easily fought with corona, and those which are struggling is the public spending in health and education. It's a very important issue, and government should spend on public health. They should enhance the health sector and education. And I was seeing some of the posts of our comrades in Patna and in Bihar and other friends. They were saying that, oh, the Medanta in Patna, that should be state corona hospital. It has been privatized. So yes, we are in solidarity with you. Yes, the government cannot just give those hospitals to make profit to few individuals. Rather, that should be state hospital, and we are completely in solidarity with you, comrades. Please continue your movement. I know now there with the government you are struggling, but I mean, it can be delayed, but we will definitely win. That's what I would like to say for public health and for public education. Even our constitution is progressive in the sense that it says free minimum education, free basic education to all. If only we could actually get everyone to the school with this free education, where women are not even taken as separate one or given reservation, where few get quotas, everyone goes to the school and gets minimum or basic level of education and even higher education, then I think that would be one of the very revolutionary thing, because once they get educated, their opportunity to get job increases, they become economically independent, and with that they could actually contribute and support their life. I think that is also what we need to discuss. And next thing is, we need to socialize home and care work. I would like to give example. I mean, I think it's a dream. I don't know when we will get. I mean, we should dream of, and we should actually plan of going there. In Soviet Russia, there were community kitchen run, and there were laundry service that were done in a community, wide support to each other. I think that is also one of the way. But now, as the working, we have working shift hour, as a husband and wife, they have their own shift of working. There are limit of working time. So I think husband and wife or family members, so there should be socialization of home work, and there should also be public spending on childcare, because many young people, I mean, even they get married, like they're worried of having kids, because with today's system they worry about the private health, I mean, from taking care from nurseries to the education of the children. They're really worried how they would grow up their children. So there should be public funding for childcare, and we need to strengthen our labor union. And I mean, sometime there is discourse or controversy in Nepal, like whether labor union or labor related committees, in especially in Nepal, they are independent or free, or they have that demarcation to go forward to the government and claim. So there should be demarcation and strengthening of a labor union. And sometimes what happen is, there could be labor union, but there needs regular class consciousness within that. When I say this, I would like to remember leaders, socialist leaders, women leaders, Clara Zetkin, Alexandra Kollontai, Rosa Luxemburg. They were women who were fighting within the German Communist Party and even Bolshevik, where they were saying that women's issue, they should be mainstream into the class issue, and they were forwarding time and again that no, working women should not come up or come together with bourgeois women, because bourgeois women have their own interest and working class women have their own interest. So I think this is also thing that we need to discuss, because feminism, when we say feminism today, there are many writers who are actually reviewing their thoughts and saying that no, liberalism is taking over the feminist discourse, the left or socialist feminism should be enhanced. So we need to even discuss from this point of view too. And temporary measures could be getting these informal workers back to work, supporting them, helping them to get organized. And another important aspect is of cooperative concept of cooperative and supporting them. But one sad thing is, in today's finance capital, the cooperative are idea that are more like they're not doing something productive, but rather they are collecting money, and they are giving as loans but not being used for something very productive. So I think the cooperative, their concept should also be should be changed, or they should be put forward in a different morality that could support especially working class people, and through which they actually understand that through the cooperation they can support each other. Especially we see that, or we hear that there are governments, or there are finance ministries and different economic experts saying that, oh, we will have a recession, or there could be economic problems. So I think cooperative could be one of the ways where people could support each other during such kind of crisis situation, and also develop the socialist values among itself. So I think I think I'm almost like it's a 1 hour, almost 1 hour, and I was also, when I said that I was speaking on this issue, some of my friends were writing me question that, okay, feminism, why we don't talk about feminists or women as such, all women, why are you trying to divide this women's movement saying working class women? What I understand is there is, again, I'm trying to re-emphasize the thing that there are women who are exercising those resources or power, or they are being a key players in the neoliberal policy. When I say woman, I don't suppose that a woman, which I always say, that woman with a diamond in her phone, or owning a lot of property, or a very rich woman, and a woman who is selling some pani puri in a cart and trying to live her life, their livelihood, everything is different. So I am talking about empowering this woman who is selling pani puri or selling maize on the street. Their life matters, because those who are empowered, they are already enjoying all the privileges in every sector. We talk about surrogacy, sex workers issue, or any form of women's right, they cannot be, we say liberation, but there cannot be uh, we cannot say that their life is same, and there is a difference, and there is a class issue. So we need to reframe it. No, feminism that we as a left talk, it's not about those who are super rich and exercising those powers. I think this was the reason why some of the, like Titi Bhattacharya and some other feminist, Nancy Faeser herself reviewed, because she was trying to say patriarchy time and again, but now she's saying that, oh, neoliberalism is taking over the left or socialist values. So they have come up with feminism for 99%, and I do believe that 1%, we shouldn't be talking about those 1% who are empowered. I mean, their life is different, totally different. I mean, their life is way forward than other those men who are downtrodden. We should be talking about those 99% of feminists who are away from the mainstream, or from exercising power, or from, basically it's a resource issue, and they don't have access to this resource. That's all I have to say. And I'm really glad that I could talk to friends in India. I would like to thank AISF friends, Susil ji, who actually asked me to come and speak. I think we, as Marxist, we are in this international movement, and I know, I mean, often there comes the, demarcation of our territory. I think today's reality is that we do have that physical territory, but I think we need to, as the ideological perspective in our movement, we are in solidarity with the left movement that's going on in India. We really support how you have been fighting. AISF and other left student union have been fighting for the educational rights and health, and how pushing forward. I know some friends are being detained, they are being tortured. We also ask for a release of those friends, because they are writing, they're raising, or they're, I mean, they're claiming for their rights. They're speaking for the working class people. That's what I would like to say. And in conclusion, not only to women, my dear men comrades and everyone, this is the issue of COVID related issue, and with working class, this is to fight against this capitalist system, this neoliberal policy that treat us not as human, but as commodity. And I would like to appeal or say that the history of struggle of working women for better condition of labor and for more decent life is not the history that was just made, but it's a history of struggle of proletariat and working class for our for liberation. So with that history, we know that we will be making the history. So we should continue fighting against the system to build our communist system. And I'm really glad that I could speak to you. Let's keep fighting against this system that is discriminating us, that is exploiting us. And I think we should be no profit, it's the human that should be first. Having said that, it was really nice talking to you, although it was a one way kind of communication. But I know, I think I know that these are the issue that often comes to our mind. I was talking to some of the friends, like what could be the issues raised. So having said that, still we are in lockdown, the cases are rising. I would really like to request you to stay safe. I know we need to continue working, but within that, please stay safe. And it was really nice talking to you. Thank you, namaste, and Krantikari Lal Salam to everyone.